Hello everybody, this tiny little image is gonna be illustrating Diner Dash for those that are not in the know about what Diner Dash is. To sum up, it is a game where you seat people, you bring food to people, people eat, and people leave. In order to perfect the levels of Diner Dash, you will figure out how to best color match people because you get bonuses if green people sit on green seats. And if you put people that don't have like a specific color, well, if the seat doesn't have any specific color and you put people there, the seat will change to the color of those people in particular. So the next time a person comes of that color, you can then put them in that seat for an extra bonus. But because groups vary in sizes from like 2 people to like 6 people, the variation can even be bigger than that. I'm pretty sure you can get groups of 1. You kind of want to be very careful about who you place and where you place, and that's kind of how the game goes. Mind you, the game is known for being very repetitive and very easy. However, it is a gameplay loop that I personally found myself missing. And this is where we're gonna start talking about Toho Mystias Izakaya. It is a very hard name for me to pronounce, so I'm sorry if I'm gonna be mispronouncing it. This is also gonna be kind of a review of Toho Mystias Izakaya. People don't normally like watch reviews, but this footage has been sitting in like my hard drive for a while. I kind of really wanted to make this review, so excuse me, this is what we're talking about today, okay? Okay. I am gonna take my own headphones off so that I don't get distracted by the game sound, because that does sometimes happen to me. So then, Toho Mystias Izakaya whole game loop is even more engaging than that of Diner Dash. Because for one thing, you have quests that you kind of need to complete for like specific people. It's normally like feed this specific person this like specific meal. You have to collect your ingredients ahead of time. You can choose which parts of the whole running restaurant / inn sort of place you're doing yourself and which one your companions are doing, because you can hire somebody to take care of the serving, you can hire somebody to take care of the cooking. So normally you will have like a helper that's doing something very specific, and you will be doing whatever that helper is not doing. So if your helper is cooking, then you're serving. If your helper is serving, then you're for the most part are cooking. Together with that, you can get specific bonuses during the level when the day starts and like continues going through the whole cooking serving phase that allows you to, for example, throw the food directly from like the cooking counter instead of needing to walk up to the people and to give them the food. On the flip side, there is no such thing as like color bonuses or having to sit people at specific places. If anything, people tend to sit themselves wherever they want to, and it is up to you to simply serve them fast enough and to make sure that the line doesn't grow. Sometimes special guests will also give you a little puzzle to describe what they want. It will be something very non-specific, like I want something legendary from the mountainous region. Easiest way to fulfill those requests tends to be trial and error, and then the preferences of the guest will get recorded as you're doing your trial and error. When you figure out what kind of foods they like and hate, like if they hate very cheap foods or if they like really expensive foods, just do a dish that fits those tags and then manually insert like an ingredient that fulfills the rest of the tags. So I loved making rice balls and just shoving a very expensive ingredient into them. The rest of the game also consists of you going through different places, as you can see me doing right now, and buying up any ingredients, but also specifically talking with NPCs, because this is how you will end up growing relationship with them partly, and also how you're gonna end up getting side quests off them. So, for example, if you come here and chat with an NPC, they might have a specific side quest. You would then pick up that side quest in order to do, and in order to report back, you would need to go and talk with the NPC again. But also, if you feed them food that they absolutely love, they will grow in hearts with you, and the more hearts an NPC has, up to like 10 hearts, the more story, their backstory you unlock. So you get to talk to them about what is relevant and important in their life. So you kind of end up half chasing the storylines behind NPCs, half actually following the main story. The main story is timed up until the last boss fight. What I mean is, you are expected to amass a certain amount of money every such an amount of time. So in 10 days, this is how much you have to pay. Like in 20 days, this is how much you have to pay. By the time you get to the end, you then have an end boss pending, and you can leave it pending for however long you want. The game is fairly it's fairly slow to start off. It took me, this is about like 20 hours in. I played it for 43 hours in total. I have not completed it, by the way. I would consider the tutorial phase almost like 10 hours long, because you're kind of learning about how different parts of the game are working, and the game is pretty easygoing at the start, and then the difficulty ramps up as the time progresses. I didn't find the main game to be too difficult, except for like specific boss portions. You have to pass those specific boss portions, and before the last boss you can sort of fail them and you're still gonna be progressed forwards. But at the last boss you can't fail it, and that boss is very, very difficult, and that's kind of why I stopped playing. That is like another problem with the game. It has quite a bit of downloadable content. I have it all, and currently I believe I am in one of the downloadable content areas. I don't remember if the forest came with the main game. I think it's like a separate downloadable content thing. But anyway, the people inside downloadable content do not have any kind of main story to talk about. It is all about the personal stories that they're gonna disclose to you when you increase their hearts. If you end up buying all the downloadable content before you finish the main game, you're gonna be in a fairly awkward situation when you're gonna be trying to meet the main game's objectives of having this amount of money by this time, and at the same time trying to heart up the people and the downloadable content. At the same time, when that pressure is finally lifted, trying to grind out the hearts of downloadable content people, when you can get like half a heart a day sometimes, or even less, is very grindy. So the best time to play downloadable content is when you have time pressure off the main story. But when you have time pressure off the main story, you're kind of gimping yourself by playing downloadable content. That is to say that the DLC is not integrated very well into this game. If anything, it is integrated fairly poorly. I would say that what would have helped is every piece of downloadable content had its own side story. So the same way that the main story progressed, you had the side story that would progress when you hit that part. And for better downloadable content integration, it would have been great if the main story didn't really have those timed gates, where you had to have an X amount of money by X point. That adds a bit of stress to it and kind of disallows players from branching out and experiencing downloadable content before they're at this like last critical part of the game. The difficulty, in my opinion, in this game also ramps up too high, because once again, that last boss fight is not something that I can currently beat. and I have shelved this game and stopped playing it about January. It's been 3 months. If I wanted to come back, I would need to relearn the game. I would do best relearning the game from a perspective of it being easier, which means that I should either play in a downloadable content area that I haven't played in much before, or like downgrade the hearts, well, the levels on one of those places that I can open. Like, you can see that some of my places here were at level 2 out of 3 or at level 1. The higher the level, the more tables there are, the more clients you'll have to serve, so you can technically like downgrade the place and relearn the game, but it will also feel like a bit of a waste, because you're like, I could be grinding out somebody's hearts, but instead you're just like trying to relearn the game so that you can potentially tackle the end boss fight afterwards. It would have helped if the boss difficulty wasn't that hard. I understand that Diner Dash for most people is way too easy. I would say that this game starts off really easy and then ramps up way too high, making it very hard for you to finish it. I would have loved some sort of like a difficulty slider. I don't know, easy, normal, hard, because it feels like parts of this game for a very long time function on easy, and parts of this game then function on very hard, and you have no way to adjust that. And as I mentioned, I spent 43 hours into this game. It is long. Even if you don't go for DLC, it is long. Sometimes there is such a thing as too much of a good thing. Sometimes the good thing really does be lasting a bit too long. For example, I put it down. Once again, coming back to it would be difficult, which is not something that's very fun. Now you need to relearn the game. It would be nicer if the game was of a more completable level, especially considering that these sort of games tend to be a lot shorter than this normally. That being said, I have several games that are kinda of this type of utilizes an easy to recognize repeatable formula. Like, for example, Match 3, Find the Object, but their selling point is that they last halfway to forever. I have Find the Object game that kinda just repeated for almost hundreds of hours, and it was like a very obscure one. I don't even remember its name right now. It does get kind of boring and repetitive because of it, because there isn't much variation, but it's like, if you enjoy this action, here you go. Here is a game where you can do a lot of this action. I would say that Toho Mystias Izakaya has that going for it. Here is a game where if you enjoy games like Diner Dash, you can get a lot of Diner Dash-like experience for a low price. You will have more than 40 hours of game. Guaranteed. Because I never finished it. Maybe if you're good, actually, maybe you'll have less. But I never hearted up every single person, so never mind. If you wanted to go for full completion, you would definitely go have more than 40 hours worth of content. This means that if you want a Diner Dash game, a regular Diner Dash is too easy for you, or you want a lot of said game, there's nothing better than Toho Mystias Izakaya. If you are a person that cannot keep their attention span off on one game for like 100 hours, you can probably complete it in 50 actually, or 60. So 50 to 100 hours. If you can't keep your attention span there, if you're not very good with this type of gameplay, or if you're unwilling to go through 10 hours of almost tutorial where the difficulty is gonna stay low and you won't really have a lot of ways to increase it, then this probably is not a game for you. It is strong on the fact that it has a lot of lasting power, it is well made, it is kind of bug-free, there is a lot of recipes, the game loop is fun, but it is weak on the fact that it is very long, that the DLCs don't merge into the main story quite that well. If you want to see everybody's stories and want to max out everyone's hearts, that's gonna get kinda grindy, and then there's no difficulty controls, so you start with very easy, which lasts for a long time, and then you end up being in very hard, and then you'll have to question your life choices and whether or not you're actually good at gaming, and can you actually complete a game like this. As you can see, I have mixed opinions on this game, but if you ask me, that is my review. That is my main gripes with it, and that is like my pros of it. I will probably be coming back to it, because I haven't really found a game that's any better than this in, once again, that very niche subcategory that Diner Dash falls into it. But at the same time, I would love some tweaks. Would really love some tweaks. As such, I would give it a 7 shrimps out of 10, honestly. It is a very solid foundation, but it outlasts itself, and Mirta would really like difficulty controls, and please don't laugh at me for being bad at a game where you make food and serve it to people. The boss fights are really hard. So yes, thank you for watching. As you can see, beautiful familiar gameplay is currently playing on the screen. I hope that you enjoyed this review. Please tell me what you think about Toho Mystias Izakaya. If you had played it yourself, I would love to engage in a discussion about it. The last time somebody said that the game kinda overstays its welcome, they got really downloaded on Reddit, so you know, I kinda hid it inside a review video, hoping that maybe angry people are not gonna find it. I hope that I'm not gonna piss off any Touhou fans, because I know that this is like a whole series of different games in kinda sorta the same game universe, but I went here specifically for this one because it's sorta like Diner Dash. That was the reason why I'm here. Now, if you enjoy videos about video games, spirituality, and Vampire the Masquerade tabletop, I know this is a very weird mix, please subscribe! Or at least take a look at the rest of my channel. If you're already subscribed, thank you so much, and also thank you so much for lasting like so long into watching this video, because we've been here for quite a while now, and I hope I'm gonna see you on my other videos. On such a note, also really thank you for my Patreon subscribers that allow me to engage in gaming, and then I tend to sit for 3 months and thinking on how to put my opinion into words, and sometimes inspiration just really comes out of nowhere at the most random times, so I'm glad that I waited to talk about this game. Anyway, thank you all, thank you my Patreon supporters, and thank you my subscribers, and thank you for watching this video, and I hope I'm gonna see you on my other videos. Bye, B.